What's up, what's up? I'm back. And with us is Mr. Jason Wild, Executive Chairman at TerrAscend and President at JW Asset Management. If you don't know him, I don't know what you're doing here. Jason, how are you?
Good. Just got in here about 10 minutes ago. So.
I am so excited about this discussion. It does have a little bit of a political angle as well, just to continue with the theme. First thing I want to do is a show of hands in the audience. How many of you know who David Boies is?
Few.
Decent. Vanity Fair called him the guy who ate Microsoft. He is often seen as the main proponent and largely responsible for the legalization of same-sex marriage in America. He represented Al Gore. His resume is incredible for someone who is a constitutional law nerd like I am, which is weird to say in a finance conference. He's a big deal.
He is.
Jason, why am I bringing him up here?
Why are you bringing him up?
That's a good setup, I think.
Yes, because we put together a group to support a case that was filed in Massachusetts in the fall of last year. It was filed against the U.S. Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and the argument and the complaint is that the U.S. federal government is treating state legal cannabis operators as if they are violating the Controlled Substances Act. We all know the impact of that. That's the 280E, the inability to deduct your operating expenses, inability or hard time banking, or companies listing on U.S. exchanges, inability to take credit cards. All of the ways that cannabis companies are treated differently than every other company in the United States. This case is looking to change that.
How do you foresee his involvement, changing that conversation, shaping, the strategy and the potential for any kind of change in federal policy?
Yes. So as you know, being a constitutional law nerd, as you said, he's the preeminent constitutional attorney in the United States. I actually described him to a professor of constitutional law. I described him as the most famous constitutional lawyer alive, and he said, "Let me stop you there. David Boies is the most influential constitutional attorney in the history of the United States." Now, I didn't say that. The professor said that, but I think that sort of at least shows the scale of what an important lawyer he is and what impact he's had in his other cases. And I could say, having worked with him for now well over a year on this case, he is just the same way that guys like Tom Brady just sort of set themselves apart on the football field. Really the way that he weaved this complaint and sort of threaded the needle on so many issues that even when I was trying to get other companies to help fund it, pretty much like any of the arguments that they had against our case or where they thought it wouldn't work, the vast majority of those, when I went back to those people after and said, "See the way we addressed what you were worried about," most of those issues were cleared up by the time they saw his complaint. So, that's what we're hoping, that we have a real impact, that we believe this will go all the way to the Supreme Court and be decided at the Supreme Court level. And we realized that we needed to pick the best, the best people out there. We're done, or at least my view is, or maybe it should apply more to me, I'm done being passive and waiting for Congress to roll out SAFE for the 99th time and have it pulled out from under us like it's happened every other time. We need more shots on goal. So at least now, and especially with the rescheduling, the potential for rescheduling as well, now we have three paths towards reform or towards relief. That's safe banking, it's the rescheduling, that would be more on the, say through the executive branch, and now we have through the judicial branch as well, a shot on goal. And I believe that at least one of them will come through. And if Congress sees that the other ones are making a lot of progress, then they'll finally get their act together because they don't want the ball stolen from them. I mean, how much would it bother, say Chuck Schumer, if Clarence Thomas was the man responsible for legalizing cannabis?
I mean, and they got to win elections, and actually that is it's interesting that you bring up Clarence Thomas because known conservative, and David Boies by all accounts is pretty much of a liberal, right? And
yep.
But the argument he's building is one of states' rights, which to me at least is a conservative or at least a Republican argument. Don't you think it's interesting? And what's your take on that? And how do you think the government will receive it? The fact, talk about that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were looking to hire David Boies and when I was trying to put the supporters together, some of the potential supporters said, aren't we better off hiring a more conservative law firm as opposed to Boies Schiller is known as a pretty liberal law firm, and they've taken on many liberal cases. And we interviewed a few of the other big firms, but we didn't find that they had as much of a handle on the case and the argument. And I mean, David Boies really developed that argument with us, say 2 years ago at this point. The other thing I realized is that people on the Republican side, they love hearing a Democrat or a liberal spout their beliefs. Mm-hmm. It's even more credible than when they hear it from somebody from their own party. So my view was, the Supreme Court justices may be pretty similar. It might be I would hope it would be music to their ears to hear David Boies, a renowned liberal lawyer, come in and espouse the virtues of federalism or states' rights. I mean, it's even more powerful when the other side is saying it. So that was part of the decision.
100%. I'm going to get sidetracked here for a second, but on the anecdotal front, how do you approach a firm like Boies Schiller and tell them hey, we want to challenge the federal government on weed? How does that conversation go? I wasn't the one who started the conversation. There was actually another one of the MSOs had started it, and they had brought us in and gotten us to agree to help support the case. This was now over 2 years ago, and the problem was it never got off the ground because we couldn't get any other supporters. It was just us and this other operator. Everybody else was saying, this was 2 years ago, SAFE is happening this year. We're sure it's coming. We're told it's coming. We don't need to go this route and spend this money on this lawsuit because we think safe banking is going to happen, and they were sort of putting all their eggs in that basket. So it didn't get off the ground. When SAFE failed at the end of that year, this was 22, then I went back to all these folks in the first week of January and said, okay, are we ready to get moving here? And even if we think SAFE does have some decent chance, or rescheduling might have some decent chance, we need to apply as much pressure as possible. And that is what's going to hopefully even move along, as I mentioned, some of the other pathways. So that's what finally got everybody, or got it so that we could get enough supporters to get the case off the ground. That being said, we definitely do need more supporters. We don't have the whole case. The whole case is not fully funded. So if anybody is interested in helping support the cause, we actually have. They can go to the Attach website, and there's a button there that says "Click here to support the case." Jason didn't put me up for this, but I'm going to say this. I'm a big believer in this. I don't know how fast the government and policymakers will move on this. I do believe in the American legal system. So all of you sitting here, if you believe the industry needs to be treated fairly, if you believe patients deserve proper access, if you believe Americans deserve to have rights and those rights to be respected and not be prosecuted for cannabis, open your checkbooks. What is it? What's the website again? Because I don't know how to find it. Attached. It's like
that's a much better call to action than I just gave. So thank you for that.
Well, I'm not selling myself. That's the thing.
Right, exactly.
It's harder to pitch oneself than to pitch others.
Right, exactly. I think it is attach.com. Rosie, do you know that? .org. Attach. Sorry, I should have known that. Attach.org. ATTACH.org. And if you go there and you can't find it, come find me, and I'll make sure that we get you to the right people.
How does this affect rescheduling? Should this case succeed? How does it affect rescheduling? How does it affect safe banking? What's the impact on this? What's the impact on interstate commerce? Like, give us a sense of the potential reach of this case succeeding.
Sure. So I'll start with one of the last things first. In terms of interstate commerce, this would not impact interstate commerce. This case is actually about intrastate commerce, and the fact that states have the right to decide the laws and around what businesses and what's legal within their state. Once these programs, or if it cross state lines, then the federal government would have a right to come in and act. But the fact is, and we've shown this in our complaint and some of our responses in the case, when there is a state legal program and they have seed-to-sale tracking, there is very, very little illegal interstate commerce. It actually leads to a decrease in illegal activity in the state when there's a legal program. So that's your answer. That's the answer on intrastate versus interstate commerce. In terms of how rescheduling would affect all of this.
And vice versa. Like, how does this affect rescheduling, and how does rescheduling affect the case? Like, does it still have legs if rescheduling happens before it?
Yes, it would, because rescheduling most likely, and we don't know for sure, obviously, but if they reschedule at Schedule 3, then there would 280E wouldn't apply going forward, meaning companies could actually deduct their operating expenses like every other business in the United States. But we wouldn't get our money back for all the years that we unfairly paid all these taxes. If the David Boies case is successful, then we're told that it's a very, very short walk across the street to the IRS tax court to get all of those taxes back. I mean, that would be many billions of dollars for the overall industry that they wouldn't have gotten back necessarily if it was just rescheduling. In terms of how they affect each other, it's pretty interesting, because when the government replied to our complaint in January, one of their main points was, we're already working on this. We've got we're in the process of potentially rescheduling or descheduling cannabis. So sort of, there's nothing to see here. We're on it, which to me is a relatively ridiculous argument. And I joked with our lawyers, well, if they want us to put this case on hold for 2 months so they can go make that decision and without the distraction from us and reschedule it, I'm sure we would probably be happy with that. But I don't. In my view, it was just often how in legal cases there's arguments made that are sort of not necessarily completely valid. I don't think in any way that the government can't walk and chew gum at the same time, or work on rescheduling while also arguing this case or defending this case. But I thought that was it was a pretty interesting and laughable argument from them. And it did make me realize, though, that there is some impact. They are sort of like, it confirmed my view that the two other pathways, meaning Congress and rescheduling or descheduling, they are keeping an eye on what's going on here with our case, and maybe it lights a little bit of a fire under them to get moving on what they need to do.
So I find this very interesting. You said if this case were to succeed, it would be a short walk for cannabis companies to get their 280 taxes back in the form of credits. which is awesome. What happens if rescheduling occurs? Like, and of course, again, 280 no longer applicable. Is there a path for cannabis companies to getting these tax credits as well? Do you envision this is likely? And then how do you think, this is more of a crystal ball question, right? Like, how do you think the public would react when they told them, you know, we're giving marijuana companies, the devil's lettuce dealers, their money back? It's
Right.
What happens?
Yeah, well, I don't think there would be too much pushback, or if anybody understood it, I think they would not be bothered by these companies getting back the tax dollars that in my view they were unfairly assessed unfairly assessed in the first place. So, and in my view, you know, I've heard a lot of arguments even with rescheduling. Well, the government's going to need to come up with an excise tax to make up for what they're losing in 280E. My view is no. They've been taking it illegally from these companies for you know, all of these years. They need to come up with a new solution that fills the gap of the dollars that they've been, you know, stealing from us for all of these years. Like my view is there shouldn't, or I don't see if they have rescheduling in the near term that they're going to already have some type of excise tax program in place. Maybe over time they do, and maybe if they pull the FDA in and have them be part of the regulations. But the fact is, the states are already collecting their excise taxes. So it's not like these cannabis companies are going to be getting off scot-free. They're just going to be in a position where they're not paying you know, federal taxes on their gross profits. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
You know, I promise you, this is not a fundraiser, but if any of you have any doubts, cannabisnews@benzinga.com will let you know how to support this case. I don't know, keep it in mind. I'm geeking out here. I would love to see us as a community beat the government through the channels that the government itself has provided us. So,
Right.
Jason,
Right.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And, again,
All right.
support this. Get on board.